When I think about our Lord Jesus, I usually don't think of a pugilist. And yet, on Thursday in lectionary lunch, Nick Markoff pointed out that the parable we heard today uses a pugilistic term, a boxing term. And of course, the wonderful translators of our edition of the New Revised Standard Version promptly covers that up, shellacks it over. So, do you even know where the boxing term was in this lesson? No. So I went and got off my shelf the unvarnished New Testament so I could remove the shellac. This is by Andy Gass, and what Andy Gass does, he strips away the shellac of doctrine, so it's not a Roman Catholic Bible like the Jerusalem Bible. It's not an evangelical Bible like the New International Version. Instead, he tries to hit what the Greek actually said. And I'm just going to read the story itself, because what you got before the story and right after the story is Luke trying to put it into context that he wants you to understand it. Instead, let's hear it in a way that, well, maybe the people around Jesus would have heard it when he said, hey, listen to this. There was a certain judge in a certain city who neither feared God nor respected humanity. Now there was a widow in that city, and she came to him saying, take on my case against my adversary. And for a long time he wouldn't. But finally he said to himself, even if I don't fear God nor respect humanity, because of the grief this widow is giving me, I'll take on her case so that she doesn't end up giving me a black eye. That's the way the Greek reads. That widow's going to pop him one. You ever felt like you need to pop somebody? Now, this story, of course, is about persistence. And, well, hitting somebody in the face really isn't showing restraint, but I guess it could be persisting to a certain end to meet your needs. It's kind of like Tina, this woman that worked in a graphics art industry. They were moving from print and wanted to open up a digital division, so they hired this woman, Tina. And Tina gathers around her team, and on that team is one person, Robert. And of all the people on her team, she would have loved to pop Robert in the eye. He needed to wake up. And the problem was, he did great work, but when he would present his ideas, and one of his colleagues might say, well, have you ever considered, yes, but, oh, no, you're not catching, and he's right there all the time and just beating down any conversation at all. So one Tuesday, he usually presented his ideas on Tuesday to the work group. He started presenting it, and when he was done, Tina said, wait a minute, before anybody responds, Robert, I want you to do something for me. I want you to take your right hand, take these two fingers on your right hand, and put them right there. And keep them there. He thought that was kind of odd. See, she just gave him a pop. So he sits down, puts his hand over his mouth, and his colleagues start saying, well, if you shifted this, and maybe if you use this typeface here, perhaps that graphics color could be reduced to this. In his mind, he was screaming, yes, but no, it's my idea, until something happened. He held those fingers there long enough that he heard some of those ideas, and he looked at his work, and he thought, well, if I did do that, and then he thought, well, some of these things my friends are saying, my colleagues are saying, well, that would apply to my other work as well. And going on from that point, Tina noticed something about Robert. In future meetings, he would either sit there with his hand on his chin, so he could be close to doing that, or he would actually sit there with his fingers on his mouth. So what he learned, instead of being persistent in presenting his idea, he was persistent in listening, and beyond listening, to hearing. Okay, is that what this gospel lesson means? That's a lesson that I got from this by Nick Markov saying, there's a pugilistic term in here, being popped in the face, having a black eye. And sometimes I need to be popped. Sometimes I get, just like Robert, caught in my little world, constrained within that little world, that I can't hear what you might be saying to me, or you might be saying to me, or what you might be saying to me. That would expand that world, bring to it a fresh touch of creativity and openness that wasn't there before. And that's grace. Now, if I was going to be the typical priest, I'd probably say, in relation to this lesson, so what you need to do is be persistent in praying. That's what Luke wanted. He says this is a story about being persistent in praying. If I was a liberation theologian, I'd probably be saying it's all about justice. And there is justice in there, because that's the beauty of a parable. It says many different things on many different levels. This week, I heard the pugilist, and I heard the need to be careful about living too much in my own reality distortion field and opening it up so it can be shaped and massaged and enlivened by the creativity of others through the grace of God.